The day a stranger became my family. I never thought a simple trip to the grocery store would change my life forever. It was a cold December evening, just a week before Christmas. The store was packed with last-minute shoppers, and I was exhausted from work. I had a long grocery list and just wanted to get home. As I reached for a loaf of bread, I noticed an elderly woman struggling to grab an item from the top shelf. She looked frustrated, her hands slightly shaking. Without thinking, I stepped forward and said, "Here, let me help you." She smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "Thank you, dear. My late husband used to do these little things for me." I felt a pang in my heart. She reminded me of my grandmother, who I had lost years ago. Something about her presence made me feel like I needed to stay a little longer. We started chatting as we walked through the aisles. She told me her name was Margaret, and she had been shopping alone ever since her husband passed away 2 years ago. "The holidays are the hardest," she admitted. "It's just not the same without him." I nodded, understanding the feeling of missing someone during Christmas. Then, without thinking too much, I blurted out, "Would you like to have coffee with me after this?" She seemed surprised, but then a big smile spread across her face. "I'd love that." After we checked out, we walked to a nearby cafe and sat by the window. What was meant to be a quick coffee turned into hours of conversation. She told me about her life, how she met her husband, and how much she missed having family around. I told her about my own struggles, how I had been feeling lonely too, even though I was surrounded by people. By the end of the evening, she looked at me and said, "You have no idea how much this meant to me. I haven't laughed like this in years." That night, I made a decision. "Margaret," I said, "do you have any plans for Christmas?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "Not really." I smiled. "How about you spend it with me and my family?" Tears welled up in her eyes, and for a moment, she couldn't speak. Then she squeezed my hand and whispered, "That would mean the world to me." A week later, Margaret sat at my family's dinner table, laughing, sharing stories, and opening gifts with us. It was the best Christmas I had in years, and just like that, a stranger became family. Sometimes all it takes is a small act of kindness to change not just one life, but two.